Hello everyone, it's Sebastian, aka Microstakes for PokerVIP.com, and today I'm back with my second part on my two-part video series on Ultima Poker. And yeah, the way I will record this video will be a bit different than my other videos. I will try out only playing two tables, just to try it out, see how people like that in the change. And yeah, also I'm gonna take a bit of a different setting on the OBS, but let's not get too technical here. I 3-bet and I'm gonna c-bet 1/3 on this flop. So basically I'm recording my second screen right now, so if the table breaks and I get a new table, I have an easier time dragging it in and dragging it out. So yeah, that's that. But without further ado, don't want to bore you with the technical stuff. Let's jump into the action, hope to get into a lot of interesting spots, and hope we can extract some value in-game and in terms of learning the game. So yeah. Also sitting some heads-up tables, like open sitting some tables, and might get some heads-up action, because some people also asked for some heads-up tables, or action rather. But yeah, so far no one wants to join me. Interesting flop. We obviously do block some continues. We obviously do have some, well, we're getting legged into for pot. We have a pretty easy decision. And that's a fold. I mean, already gonna take him as a weaker player. Given a weaker player comes along, I think I will complete this, but it's pretty close. Queen 10 off is definitely a call, and Queen 9 gets pretty close. I think I would fold Queen 8 here. Just checking to the pre-flop raiser, quite obviously, not planning on doing a lot. Potentially bluffing on some street later. Ace 10 pretty easy open. Given it's only 5-handed, right hand table is only 3-handed, so a bit of short-handed action. Well, small blind calls, we have a pretty easy c-bet 1/3 for protection value. This is not a bluff. I don't expect better hands to fold, maybe deuces fold, but generally not expecting better hands to fold. This is more to protect my equity and realize my equity. So we're gonna check back and do exactly that, and we're just gonna check down, expecting to sometimes be good, expecting to sometimes lose to like sixes. It's a pretty good result. Ace 7, the button opening. Also short-handed means we're gonna get more hands in, which I think generally is better for you guys. But this also means it's, I think, like kind of better to just maybe record two tables, because if you play short-handed, obviously there will be more hands, there will be more action, and it's easier to follow if I only play two tables. But let me know if you did enjoy the 3-table, and even though when it's short-handed or not. I had some people saying 3 tables might be a bit too much, but some people kind of wanted more tables, so well, there's the open jam. That's always fun. 4-10 off suited, pretty easy fold. Deuce 9 suited. Given with this pretty, I mean, still gonna let the deuce 9 suited for, gonna let it go. But given there's a 2 fish behind, I might be able to open it. Wouldn't be awful, but it's kind of pushing it. Now we do get another table. I think I'm gonna drag in this table over rather than the short-hand table. But as said, I'm not sure. Maybe you would enjoy some short-hand action. But for now, I will opt to give you the 6-max rather than the short-handed. Don't worry, I'm not going to play the other table on the side, so things don't get confusing. Just going to sit out there next hand, or next big blind, which is next hand. If it's not Just gonna sit out the extent in that case. So yeah. By the way, I did contact the support because of the non-auto seat in the middle, which did bother some people, which, to be quite honest, it also bothers me to not be auto-seated in the bottom middle. And the support said they are on it, and oh, this guy basically jams for 2.5 big blinds. Well, this is an any 2 cards get it in spot, so we're gonna get it in. Last 5 cents. Oh, it's a good start. It's not a good run out. Well, we were beat all the way, so doesn't matter. Has 2.5 blinds, but has the queens. You deserve the money. Take it. You might need it. 3-betting the king queen suited for value here. So yeah, what I was about to say, so they are basically trying to implement a function that you auto-center yourself at the bottom. Also, they are fixing some other issues, like, for example, we can't see your villain's hands at showdown sometimes. They're also on that, because you obviously should be able to, for example, if they call you down, you should be able to see the hands they had. And yeah. So the support is really helpful, like they were really nice and helpful. And yeah, generally like pretty pleased with the support so far. I also had like some trouble depositing here. Because like from the country I live in, like not all the deposit methods were like available at the moment, which probably will be in the future. And because of that, like a bit of trouble, which wasn't too bad, I did get it fixed. And because of that trouble, they actually gave me some free tournament tickets in change, which is really great of them, to be honest. So props to them for that. Like they could have just said, well, that's your issue, don't care, basically. But no, they gave me some free tournament tickets, which basically is the equivalent of getting some free money. So yeah, props to them for that. And overall, I mean, it's a pretty new site, so it's bound to have some sort of like, let's call it bugs, but they are on it, and I'm pretty confident that they're going to change it. Also, another good thing to say is, like, for the time we are currently in, there's actually a decent bit of tables running. Like, I'm playing on a lot of like low populated sites, and the action here seems to always be decent. Like, there's still like 2 or 3 tables basically always running, which on some sites during this night time, which is basically my grinding time, because you think a lot of the pools are pretty soft at night, a lot of tables break. A lot of sites actually don't have tables at certain stakes at least, which was an issue so far with this site. Like, as you just saw, like I can even like, yeah, I just closed the table because I had too many basically. Okay, let's focus back onto the action. Pretty easy fold. I mean, we didn't miss a lot. We just had a lot of chunky hands, 10-5 off, 10-3 off. Pretty trivial folds. Not too much happening right now. Lots of short stacks as well. Like lots of short stacks actually. Pretty easy fold with the queen 6 here. Facing a race in front of us. Not too much to do. Gonna take a sip of water while waiting for a hand. Always stay hydrated. It's general advice I can give you. Also helps with the grinding. The 9-4 suited, facing a 3x open, we're gonna let it go. He's also shorter, which doesn't help the 9-4 suited. Also doesn't hurt it too much, but well, now we face the. Let's hope to not get a walk with the pocket queens with the ladies. So hope to face 3 bets. Or at least a call. We face the walk, which is the worst result, but it's okay. I mean, I guess the worst result is running into aces. But besides that, opening the ace-3 of diamonds on top left, opening the queen-4 suited top right, or right rather. Flopping extremely well on the left. He leads pots. I don't really see a big reason to raise. I don't think we have a ton of fold equity, and we're in position. We'll just call, realize our equity this way. Turn the base. I mean, we have the third nuts. Let's not get too carried away. This guy 3-bet open jams, 60 blinds, easy fold with my hand. On this turn, we're gonna bet like around 90 cents, 87 cents. Trying to keep in all his 1 pairs, all his rando hands. Calls, we still have the basically nuts on river, and I guess on this river it's somewhat reasonable to get paid by a hand like some 1 diamond then basically. We're gonna bet relatively large to, I mean, we're gonna bet quite large. Trying to get called by like the 10 of diamonds or something like that, land like 10-8 of the 10 of diamonds, queen 8 of the queen of diamonds, something like that. And if he doesn't have a diamond, it's pretty hard to get called. Win a reasonable sized pot there, quite happy with it. Yeah. King Jack on open, being effectively at MP. I would also open it from UTG, but at UTG it gets pretty close with the King Jack off. But given there are also a lot of recreationals in front. By the way, his lead on the flop already shows me that I already have him tagged as a weaker player, so he should not really lead there, for what it's worth. King Jack this board. Start things off with a reasonably sized big bet. Definitely a lot of hands we can expect value from, can get some protection. That's an awful turn, and doing anything besides check folding would be a pretty big blunder. We're going to check fold. Sometimes we're still going to win on showdown, but it's pretty rare. Easy fold. Obviously would check some reasonably high hearts there as well. So, I mean, not that it truly matters, but yeah, somewhat protected there, I guess. King 10 would 3-bet, ace jack would 3-bet, kind of sad to not get any action with those hands whatsoever. Jack 10 will open. If this guy limps, I'm going to isolate. This guy opens, I'm going to fold. He min opens, which is, this hand is like close to calling here in this spot, but I'm just going to let it go. Show a bit of discipline. Probably would start calling there with Queen Jack off. Yes, I do have a flat image in the small blind. Given his stack depth, I don't want a 3-bet hand like Queen Jack off suited, but I also don't want to fold it. Getting a price, basically being flipping versus a normal opening range of a hand like Queen Jack off suited. And yeah. But the Jack 10 off suited, I can quite reasonably fold that. Excuse me while I need another sip of water, my throat is kind of killing me a bit. I mean, it's winter time, I guess it's natural to have some those sort of issues. Just folding the 5-6 off suited, quite obviously not going to isolate this white. This would be pretty big fun to isolate this white. Would want to at least have the 5-6 suited, but generally trying to isolate more like high card hands, like basically Broadway hands, will generally make more money versus fishes than low suited connectors. 2 fishes in front, the Queen 9 offers actually 3 fishes in front. I'm going to open this. Actually, this table has 4 fishes. I just like maybe UTG guys a fish as well. Basically, I'm fucking surrounded by, excuse my language there, but I'm freaking surrounded by fishes. So I guess that's good. Starting with a relatively big bet with top pair, obviously can extract a ton of value. Him folding, sure, I take that. Ace 10 off, also gonna open. Generally opening a bit wider when like fishes are behind us. Generally opening ranges when fishes are involved in any sort of direction. Not gonna call here ever. These 3-bet ranges, even from a fish, are still pretty strong, and I mean ace 10 off is not a good hand to be the 3-bet. extremely dominated, not a lot of playability, and yeah, not a lot of nut potential. Basically, flop a top pair and you're like, guess I have to go with it. Well, we have a three-ways pre-flop all-in situation, so I'm expecting to see aces or kings at least from one guy. Nope, just ace-jack offsuited. No idea how he got it in there exactly, but regardless of how the action was, I would call that a punt, getting an ace-jack offsuited for like 100 blinds or whatever. He scoops up all the money from the fish, so that's kind of sad. One guy in the YouTube comments, by the way, mentioned that there are like a lot of bots here, and I played it against a lot of bots. Well, if the bots do play like that, getting it in with ace-jack offsuited, three-ways all in pre-flop, I don't mind playing versus those bots. And I mean, generally, I just doubt that all of those short stacking, open shoving, limping type of guys are gonna be bots. So you don't have to see like, how do I put it? Like, you don't have to always look out for the monsters in your bed. You don't have to be that paranoid about everything. There's not always a grand conspiracy going on. The 5-6 suited, 7-6 suited, obviously easy open from button. The 5-6 suited also an open from the cutoff, especially given this pretty weird guy we just got in with ace-jack is in front of me, or rather behind me, I suppose, in terms of when his turn is. You know what I mean. 3-8 offsuited, pretty easy fold, regardless of action and position. Take it down to 5-6, that's a pretty reasonable result. Not too shabby, and we do get the camel ball liquor, as we know how that hand is called. Gonna let the jack-3 off go. One of the most funny hands I've ever witnessed forehand. That's a pretty beautiful hand. That hand can make a royal flush, so let's try to do that. Let's see what happens here. Folds to the big blind. What is he gonna do? If he three-bets, I'm gonna call. If he calls, I'm gonna play post flop. If he folds, that's a fine result. I would somewhat like to play a flop there, but don't mind if I just do take the chips pre-flop. Just gonna usually fold the 9-6 off. I suppose if he min opens, having that fish read, I'm gonna defend. Versus 3x, I won't, so pretty easy fold. The queen 10 offsuited, well, depends on what happens. If he opens, I'm gonna fold. Just go opens, I'm gonna fold. If he folds, and I wanna open, and I'm just gonna min open, given this guy only has 10 big blinds, 20 big blinds, excuse me. Probably could open jam profitably, but I think when raising is superior in terms of EV. In the tournament settings, things would change, but often in the tournament you also have antes. King 3 suited would have opened if folded to, but rather than open from the cutoff, I'm going to fold. King deuce off, getting a 3x open, I'm going to fold. Would probably defend versus min. Would defend versus min. 2.5x is close. Queen 8 off will open if folded to me. If not, I will fold. Guess if someone limps, I will complete. So those are the things that can happen here. 3x open, pretty easy fold. Well, we pick up a reasonably strong hand, top left, or rather just left. Gonna open the good old ace-jack off-suited. Would prefer it being suited, but I want to take the off-suited variant. Get a pair. Gonna open. Small blind defense. There's a small blind defense who seems to be more raggy from the tiny information I have. I'm just gonna give it a check back, turn a gut shot. See what he decides to do. He will have a lot of pocket pairs here. We're just going to check back and realize our equity. Right hand table, we're going to see bet 1/3 for protection and value, and here we're going to check down, realize our equity, 2 river top pair. It's pretty hard to imagine us getting a call from worse. I want to try something really fancy and bet like really tiny, like 1/4 pot. It's pretty hard to get called. And if he happens to raise over this, I would call. Just because I think I quite often lose betting so tiny. I think people still have a hard time folding to like basically one big blind there. So we do extract a tiny bit of value there, which is pretty good. King 8 off probably won't see a flop, but in some situations it would. Ace 2 suited, don't have to open this from UTG, but given that basically every player behind is a fish or close to everyone, I'm gonna open it. This hand, the King 8 really underperforms in a 3-ways or multi-way situation, so we're just gonna let it go. Would rather want to have this heads up with the King 8 than 3-ways. Just gonna check fold the ace deuce here. I mean, we don't have a lot going for us besides a backdoor flush draw, and this board is not good for us and kind of connects with their overcalling ranges at cutoff and MP quite well. Just gonna check fold. To check 9, I will open. I will actually open jam this because he has basically 11 big blinds. Ten for off, not gonna see a place. 6-8, also not gonna see a flop. Pretty chunky king deuce off, gonna fold. Not too much going around right now. Waiting for a good hand, waiting to extract some value. Ten-7 off probably won't see a flop either, depends on what happens. Needs to involve some min raise. Well, there's a min raise, we can peel a min raise. I'm gonna check raise this flop. I think he's gonna overly c-bet this flop. So I think this check raise will overperform. And I do have some backdoor straight draw opportunities to pick up some equity on some turns. I do have an overcard to the 8. He does call. I generally don't think the king, I mean, I think I have some fold equity on the king, but I would like to have some sort of gut shot or straight draw to continue. Else I'm just gonna check fold now. Didn't pick up additional equity. And still facing a relatively strong range, containing a lot of decent pairs. And I still like my decision to check raise there, because I do think this is a board that will get overly c-bet, and I can definitely get him off some ace highs directly, or some queen highs, jack highs, and the sort. Also, if he has a pair like pocket threes, he probably just c-bet folds. Given that he 3-bets really small, it's really tempting to call the queen 8 here. And I think I will call the queen 8, just given the really small sizing by him. I mean, that's really not the flop we were looking for, is it? He just bets really big, which is not good on that flop. It's terrible if he has a decent ace, but he should much better bet smaller. So I already don't really think he's a rag. If this guy jams his like 8 big blinds, we'll have to call off. Not really thrilled, but just pot odds. Deuce 3 off, so that will go right into the mug. The queen 8, by the way, is pretty close there, Puri. But yeah, just given like pretty small sizing, I'm gonna defend it in position. Gonna defend here as well for the 2.5x with an ace. This is pretty marginal. You can let this go. You can also defend. I think it's right on the border where it's basically defending the big blinds. This hand has to show a better profit than minus 100 BBs per 100. Because if you always fold there, you would lose 100 BBs per 100. The 3-4 suited is close for his big blinds. I'm gonna fold. Give him no antes. Also gonna fold because of the small blind. He's kind of handcuffing me to not open that wide because I'm assuming he's gonna 3-bet jam any reasonable looking hands. With this hand though, we can actually open and then call off, given he has 8 big blinds. So yeah, the ace-6, what I wanted to say is you basically have to win. You basically have to lose less than minus 100 PB per 100, which I do think that hand will do, but I don't think it's going to be a lot better than that. So you think it's around the border, being able to defend. I'm kind of indifferent to it. 2-3 suited, facing a 2.5x is once again, I think that's quite around the border. I think folding is reasonable, I think calling is reasonable, I think 3-betting sometimes is reasonable. I think given I have some sort of fish reader, I'm just going to call and take a post flop. I also did see him get it in with ace jack off, so he's not afraid to gamble pre-flop. So I don't want to really 3-bet him because I don't expect a fold equity, excuse me. But I do think versus such a player, I do want to play post flop in position with a hand that has a reasonable amount of playability. Obviously, it's a pretty junky hand, and obviously it has its weaknesses, but I do think given the 2.5x open, given the fish, I can defend. And once again show less negative profit than minus 100 PB. Once again, cutoff handcuffing me, can't really open that much, because, not cutoff, I mean small blind, because he's gonna jam any reasonable hands. Don't get his like 3x open when he has 7 big blinds. Would be surprised if he doesn't jam here. He does. This guy has to call pretty wide. I'm assuming the BP has a stronger range here. Ace jack apparently got there on the turn. Probably didn't have the best hand on flop. This guy's posting his blind. Already assuming he might not be the best player. Yeah. And once again, we're waiting for a decent hand. The queen 9 suited is decent enough for my taste. Gonna go ahead and open to 2.5x and see what happens. See what develops. If the small blind decides to jam his 11 big blinds, we have to call off. Not thrilled, but we have the pot odds to call. We just take it down, which is quite the reasonable result. And I'm also gonna open from UTG, just given how many weaker players are behind me. Wouldn't do this at a tougher setup, lineup, table. But given this table, I think it's fairly reasonable. People don't seem to want to play a lot of pots right now. Well, we do flop a gut shot. Can hit a decent pair on the queen. I'm gonna take a stab and then check back turn and realize my leftover equity. Also, obviously, do block some hands in the area of the flop, which is always good, like queen 10, 10 9, queen jack, and so on. I'm blocking some really weak pair. Well, we get insta raised by a short stack. Go ahead, have it. I wouldn't fold a lot of hands there, but that's going to be one of the hands I'm going to see that fold. And I'm quite happy to do so while I rebuy. Some junky suited hands. We face the limp. Hopefully he doesn't isolate. I want to see a flop. Cool, we get to see a flop. This is a flop where we can go ahead and lead, or we can check. I'm going to take a check because I crushed this board so hard. If I didn't have the flush draw as well, I would go ahead and lead. I'm still going to check turn because this turn actually don't see a lot of value by leading. 3-betting my pocket kings, finally picking up some steam here, potentially. And as played, I think my second pair is good, so I'm going ahead and betting around half pot on river. Sadly just getting a fold with the pocket kings, and sadly not getting a call with the 10-4. The a7 will be an open. If he jams his 13 blinds, this kind of gets close. Probably would fold just given the nature how nitty he so far was reacting. Didn't really open jam a lot, so we'll just fold. The queen 10 kind of close. If this fish at the button calls, I think I will come along. If he folds, I will fold. Yeah, he comes along. We're also going to come along, weasel our way into this pot. Not the best flop, but it's kind of reasonable. The pocket fours will open and would stack off versus the button being so short. Half pot, well, we surely can't fold to the half pot c-bet, or not c-bet, but bet when check to. Can always turn a reasonable pair, like a 10, that's a pretty reasonable pair. Gonna check and probably have to call another half pot bet. If he happens to bet bigger, we're in a dicey spot. This is a dicey spot. I do think we have enough implied odds to call here again. We're gonna lead if we improve to a queen, a 10, or a heart. But I do think we have the implied odds to call, and we occasionally have the best hand and win by a check-check on the river. And improving now, I don't expect a lot of bluffs given the really small SPR, so I'm just gonna exploitatively lead and try to make him call. Because I don't think he necessarily always jams any ace on the river. He might just check down, take a showdown. Sadly can't see what he had, but assuming it was an ace most of the time. As said, I do think we had the implied odds to call, and as we see, we hit the 10, we get it. I also don't think he's going to fold on the heart. A negative part is that the ace-x of hearts are possible, but I generally don't think he would bet that big with that hand on the turn. That's certainly possible and certainly makes our hand a bit weaker. Overall a pretty closey spot. The ace-8 here could go either way. Could see with 1/3 or could check back. I'm going to opt to check it back this time. And I want to sit out next big blind because we did reach the 30 minutes, but I'm going to still play until the next big blind. Give you that little bit of extra hands, a little bit of extra time. Just going to check down my ace-8, have some showdown value obviously. Just going to check down, sometimes win. Ace-queen, and then should 3-bet pre, not really close. 5-3 off, gonna fold. 10s, honestly, given the fishes behind, I'm just gonna flat to get to play a pot with the fishes behind. And also, like, the small blind might squeeze and then we can get it in, or like the big blind might squeeze and we get it in. This kind of squeezing is kind of scary, we can't get it in, but we surely won't fold. Besides the discount forwards, of course. Then we're gonna fold, he calls, we're gonna call, flop a 10 and stack one of them, maybe both. We didn't flop a 10, but we did flop a second pair and a gut shot, which is not the worst flop. It's gonna depend on how big he c-bets, whether we can continue or not. If he just like bets insanely big and this guy calls, we can quite comfortably fold. Well, I would consider that insanely big. And I don't think he's c-betting this big into two players with a weak hand, and given this sizing, we can just fold. Obviously a pretty good board for our range. We're going to obviously have a lot of good hands and don't necessarily need to continue that hand. Folding the king-8, folding the 6-10 suited. Got into some sort of interesting spots, I suppose. Not everything worked out, but overall seemed quite reasonable. I hope you overall got to know a bit of Ultima Poker. It's not Ultimate Poker, there's a difference, it's Ultima Poker. Yeah, if you have any questions about us that played it, about me I suppose, or about the site, write it in the comments on PokerVIP. Always feel free to ask something, or we do pick up a pretty strong hand. Might finish this session and this video with a reasonable pot. Yeah, also hope you guys had a great Christmas. Like today is a few days after Christmas. I certainly did have a really relaxing Christmas time. Did take a few days off poker, reset my mind, relaxed a bit. So yeah, that was the video. Hope you guys got a lot out of it. Hope you guys will be back for my next video series. And yeah, any questions, post them, any comments, post them, any feedback, post it. I'm always open to all of that. And yeah, make sure to check out Ultima Poker. Good luck on your grind. If we don't, I mean, I suppose the next video will be like next year. So, gonna hope your start in the next year will be good and profitable. I'm out. Was Sebastian, I guess Robics for PokerVIP. Peace.